London, the 14th of February, 2026. It began, as many royal scandals do, with something deceptively small. A handbag. Not just any handbag, but a limited edition Balenciaga cash. Crocodile embossed clutch personally. Commissioned by Zara Tindall, the daughter of Princess, and, for her, appearance at the Women and Echoing Leadership Gala earlier this month. The accessory was meant to symbolize not only her refined fashion evolution, but also her growing influence as a modern, royal businesswoman. It never made it to the gala, according to multiple sources. Close to the Royal Wardrobe Office, the handbag, hand-embossed, monogrammed, discreetly with Zara's initials, and stored under a designated reservation, with Balenciaga's London showroom, vanished days before her team was scheduled to retrieve it. Quiet inquiries were made. Balenciaga allegedly apologized for a regrettable logistical error. No police report was filed. Zara, unfazed in public but reportedly incensed in private, chose not to escalate the situation. That would have been the end of it until the handbag was spotted on the arm of Meghan Markle at a closed-door fashion meeting in Paris. The timing was not only unfortunate, it was surgical. The image of Meghan in head-to-toe black Balenciaga walking into the left bank offices of a Paris PR firm with Zara's unreleased handbag in tow was circulated internally within the fashion house less than 48 hours after the gala. The response was swift and discreet. Balenciaga already reviewing Meghan's proposed ambassadorship quietly postponed contract talks. Zara said nothing but behind palace walls an old silent resentment had reignited. For years, Zara Tindall has walked a different path. From her royal cousin's Olympic, equestrian, mother, entrepreneur, wife of rugby star Mike Tindall, she holds no royal title by choice, but is widely respected within the family and public, alike for her level-headed nature and refusal to play media games. But in the past 2 years, Zara has become something more, a symbol of what a modern British aristocrat can be: unapologetically fashionable, effortlessly composed, and deeply loyal to the crown. She doesn't seek the spotlight, said a senior courtier, but when it finds her, she knows exactly how to carry it. That distinction makes the Meghan incident all the more cutting. Zara, we're told, did not respond publicly, nor did she demand a retraction. Instead, she contacted Balenciaga through her private secretary with a firm, respectful request: an internal investigation into how a reserved item ended up in someone else's possession, someone who allegedly had no active commercial relationship with the brand. The contrast in reactions couldn't have been sharper. Within 24 hours of the internal Balenciaga leak, Meghan Markle's team released a glossy video teaser for what appeared to be a new fashion initiative titled Love with Meghan, featuring clips of her in Paris, mood boards, and close-ups of accessories, including the now notorious handbag. Palace insiders described the move as a deliberate provocation and not just towards Zara. The timing of Meghan's rollout was no accident, said a fashion publicist briefed on the situation. The handbag wasn't a coincidence. It was a flex, a way to say, I can still command attention. Behind the scenes, however, Meghan's credibility was beginning to fray. Despite attending Paris Fashion Week and appearing publicly in Balenciaga, allegedly invited by creative director Pier Paolo Piccoli, it later emerged that Meghan was never confirmed as an official guest of the house's internal branding team. Her name did not appear on pre-approved ambassador shortlists. Her sudden alignment with the brand had raised red flags internally, especially in light of fresh allegations surrounding her previous wardrobe controversies. Zara Tindall's disdain for Meghan Markle has never been overt, but it has long been suspected. While Catherine, Princess of Wales maintained cautious diplomacy in early years. Zara was never impressed. According to one family friend, she always found Meghan theatrical, strategic, and above all, exhausting. Before with you were sad at royal family events, Zara reportedly kept her distance. Photos from a Queen's Platinum Jubilee in 2022 show her turning away during the Sussex's arrival at St. Paul's Cathedral. At Prince Philip's memorial, she avoided eye contact entirely. The handbag incident, to insiders, is merely the spark that ignited years of tension. Zara's mother, Princess Anne, known for her steel spine and sharp intuition, has never publicly commented on Meghan, but her absence from any meetings, events, or gestures involving the Duchess of Sussex since 2020 speaks volumes. After the handbag controversy, and is said to have quietly advised Balenciaga to do what is right with dignity. Her message, according to sources, was clear. The monarchy does not issue ultimatums, but it remembers disrespect, and it does not forget betrayal. What separates Zara and from Meghan, sources say, is not just temperament. It is their complete understanding of power, and the most senior female royal in active duty holds influence not through volume, but through legacy. Zara, raised with that legacy in her blood, knows how to wield it silently. They don't fight in tabloids. They don't throw tantrums, said a retired courtier. They wait. They let the institution speak for them. And in this case, it would. While Meghan's team spun the Paris incident as a coincidence, Balenciaga insiders began leaking concerns about the Duchess's prior fashion behavior, particularly in relation to the now defunct Arul wardrobe project. Quiet murmurs turned into formal inquiries, and before the week was over, the house's legal team had paused all negotiations. What started as a missing handbag was now a question of integrity. Paris, the 15th of February 2026. The email arrived quietly, but its implications were seismic at 2 a.m. Central European Time. Balenciaga's senior legal advisor issued an internal memo titled Contractual Freeze. Meghan Markle. The document later leaked too. Industry insiders stated that the fashion house had elected to suspend all pending and informal agreements with the Duchess of Sussex until issues surrounding product access and brand alignment are fully reviewed. And okay, it was a soft blow wrapped in legal formality, but behind the scenes it struck like a thunderclap. Meghan Markle, once whispered about as the face of a possible new luxury sustainability line, had just been dropped from consideration, and no public statement would be made. It was a calculated silence, said a former brand manager. They wanted to disengage without igniting drama. But Meghan didn't give them the option. Felstead and Grossen. Within 48 hours, Meghan's representatives released a series of Instagram stories referencing misogynistic narratives and institutional sabotage, hinting at a broader conspiracy to freeze her out of elite circles. Though Balenciaga was never mentioned by name, the implication was clear. It was the same old playbook. One palace source commented, victimhood over accountability. But this time, something had shifted. While Meghan's team scrambled to reposition her image, launching teaser content for a lifestyle rebrand and reaching out to smaller European labels, Zara Tindall did the opposite. She said nothing. Instead, she attended the Cartier British Polo Awards in Gloucester in a white tailored suit from Victoria Beckham's upcoming collection, a quiet nod to solidarity. The photos went viral. Fashion critics praised her controlled elegance, modern restraint, and aristocratic ease. He posited a sign to that the move was not just fashionable, it was strategic. Zara doesn't chase the spotlight, but when Meghan tried to manipulate the fashion world into a loyalty contest, Zara just stood still, and the world moved toward her, said a Vogue UK editor. A week later, Harper's Bazaar UK confirmed that Zara had been approached for a cover feature. While she declined the offer, citing family commitments, the message was clear. In the war for public perception, Zara didn't need to fight. She had already won. Behind the scenes, Princess Anne had begun to make quiet moves of her own. Senior royal staffers confirmed that and initiated a family-only review of how royal-adjacent figures were aligning with commercial entities. The timing, while diplomatically described as routine, coincided with the growing concern over Meghan's alleged misuse of royal references in brand negotiations. It was Anne's way of drawing the line, not through press conferences but through policy. She knew the press would twist her words, so she used procedure. Instead, said a longtime palace advisor, "That's Anne. You'll never see her flinch, but you will feel the walls move around you," and also reactivated her personal advisory group on public image, which had been dormant since the Queen's passing. According to insiders, the group's first project was reviewing how Zara, Lady Louise, and Sophie of Edinburgh could be further elevated as quiet ambassadors of the crown. In other words, while Meghan shouted the real royals were being reshaped as Zara thrived and fortified her camp, Meghan's position began to erode. Her Archewell Foundation faced fresh scrutiny from a U.S. Internal Revenue Service after leaked memos suggested inconsistencies between reported expenses and actual project output. Tyler Perry, once a silent patron and Meghan's most reliable stateside ally, reportedly refused to extend further financial assistance. Worse, Meghan's Paris press tour failed to land traction. One fashion PR executive noted, "It felt off-brand." Meghan wanted to be seen as an innovator, but the industry sees her as a disruptor, and not in a good way. For the first time since her royal exit in 2020, Meghan's influence appeared to have plateaued. The luxury brands she once courted with ease were now wary. Invitations were sparse, and without Harry at her side, who had reportedly returned to the UK for private discussions with Palace Legal Counsel, Meghan looked increasingly alone. Her social media posts became more erratic, one moment evoking empowerment, the next warning of unspeakable truths she might be forced to reveal. The subtext was no longer subtle. Meghan's always seen exposure as her sword and shield, said a former Sussex aide, but this time the room isn't afraid anymore. Impasted by mid-February 2026, the divide was no longer hidden. The royal family had not issued a single official statement. Yet, the message was deafening. Lines had been drawn, sides chosen. In the quiet rooms of Bagshot Park and the private courtyards of Windsor, conversations turned deliberate. Zara Tindall, once considered a non-working royal, was now at the center of a cultural realignment, not through palace decree, but through public dignity. She had done nothing, and that was everything. It was Lady Louise Windsor who was first seen stepping out of the back entrance of Zara's London flat the morning after the Paris fashion incident exploded online. Dressed in a long navy coat and beret, she moved discreetly. No cameras, no public statement, no entourage. But for those watching closely, the image said it all. Louise had always shared a bond with Zara. Both had grown up outside the working royal spotlight. Both understood the strength of soft power. And in that moment, it became clear that Zara was not alone. Later that week, the Countess of Wessex, now styled the Duchess of Edinburgh, was photographed hosting Zara and Louise at a private equestrian event in Oxfordshire. Reporters were barred. No social media content was released. But sources confirmed the gathering was more than family leisure. It was about stabilizing the narrative from within, said a palace press officer. Sophie is the bridge between generations, and when she moves, the rest pay attention. Sophie had been observing quietly as Meghan's behavior towards Zara shifted from petty to public, while Meghan had once privately mocked Zara as unpolished and irrelevant the moment Zara began receiving invites to diplomatic charity, events, and luxury brand tables that changed. Meghan, according to one Archewell staffer, lost her mind when she learned Cartier had asked Zara, not her, to co-host the upcoming Windsor Gala. She immediately reached out to her own network, pushing for a competing media campaign. It backfired. Desperate to regain ground, Meghan turned to Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, her only remaining links to the royal institution with any proximity. The York sisters had once been sympathetic, even supportive, but by 2026, their tone had cooled. Meghan reportedly invited them to a private dinner in Mayfair under the guise of reconciliation. The actual agenda, a coordinated public statement, defending her right to pursue luxury partnerships without palace policing. Beatrice declined. Eugenie arrived late, stayed 40 minutes, and left in silence. She was baiting them, said a former royal liaison, trying to drag them into her feud with Zara and Anne. But the York sisters are survivors. They've seen what happens when you pick the wrong moment to speak. To palace strategists, Meghan's approach was not just risky, it was insulting. You can't manufacture proximity, said one source. Zara has earned her place through consistency and credibility. Meghan keeps trying to leapfrog the hard part. Amid all of this, Princess Catherine said absolutely nothing, but her silence rang louder than any press release. At a London charity gala on February 12, 2026, one of the first major events she attended following her recovery from health treatment, Catherine chose to wear a restructured ivory gown first, worn by Queen Elizabeth II in 1969. The dress had been in the royal archives for decades. Its reemergence was no accident. It was a signal of continuity, of legacy, of whose side history is on, noted a royal fashion historian. Catherine and Zara have rarely been photographed together in private, but insiders confirm they share an unspoken respect. Catherine values discretion. Zara embodies it. The Duchess didn't need to comment on Meghan's latest meltdown. She let a dress do it for her. Elegance, one palace aide said, has never needed a microphone. Meanwhile, Meghan continued to post cryptic, defiant messages. I was never invited to their table because they knew I'd build my own. But the response was muted. The public, once caught up in the drama, had begun to tire. She mistook headlines for loyalty, said a British editor. And loyalty doesn't trend, it endures. By mid-February, multiple UK media outlets began shifting their coverage. Once differential to Meghan's Hollywood halo, magazines like Tatler and The Telegraph began publishing neutral to critical opinion pieces. Zara, on the other hand, was the subject of quiet praise. Her presence at a medical fundraiser in Cardiff raised over $42 million for pediatric research. Her name was floated as a potential ambassador for British Paralympic equestrian programs. She didn't seek headlines. They found her. Even internal palace reports, usually kept from public eyes, confirm the shift. There is institutional rebalancing underway. Read one leaked memo from the Lord Chamberlain's office. Certain relationships must be prioritized in the public interest. Translation: Zara, Sophie Louise were now considered steady hands. Meghan, a reputational liability. It wasn't a statement. It wasn't an interview. It wasn't even a leak. Princess Anne's response came in the form of a meeting. No press. No photographers held behind the fortified glass doors of Clarence House on the morning of the 7th of February, 2026. Those in attendance called it the Restoration Briefing. The subject: Meghan Markle, The objective containment, without contamination, and the most senior royal by service and the longest standing figure of institutional continuity delivered what one aide later described as a masterclass in restraint. She didn't speak Meghan's name once, the aide recalled, not out of fear, but because naming chaos gives it power. Instead, and focused on the preservation of image through behavioral contrast, the family's posture going forward would be one of studied silence. No official counterpoints, no emotional rebuttals, no press engagement, just the quiet consistency of conduct. The goal was clear. Let Meghan's theatrics collapse under their own weight. According to internal records, and issued what became known as the non-engagement protocol. It was simple. The Crown does not duel on social media. The Crown does not chase press cycles. The Crown endures. But Meghan, sensing isolation, doubled down. Just 3 days after Zara was offered a limited edition co-hosting role at the Royal Ascot-style Pavilion, a position previously hinted at for Meghan in 2020, Meghan's team issued an indirect warning. A sealed letter was hand-delivered to a London legal firm representing one of the palace's charitable partners. The message, if defamatory inferences toward the Duchess of Sussex continued, even through nonverbal optics, she would consider authorized release of archived digital communications between herself and unnamed senior royals. The subtext was unmistakable. Meghan was threatening to leak messages privately. Palace officials referred to it as the Windsor Files bluff. She wants them to flinch, said a royal council. But you can't shake a house that was built to withstand empire collapse. Anne's recommendation, ignore it. And they did. What Meghan didn't anticipate was the ripple effect outside palace walls. Within the fashion industry, especially in Europe, her image had begun to sour.